Hello, everyone. Welcome to our continuing series on Perinatal Connect. Perinatal Connect is a research organization working to improve maternal mental health during the perinatal period. The purpose of this video series is to highlight community services in local Champaign-Urbana that have the goal of supporting families. My name is Rachel McKinney. I'm the mother of 3. I teach childbirth education and I'm a doula in our community. I'm also a patient participant in our research group. Emily, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Emily Lux. I'm a patient researcher with Perinatal Connect. I have a 5-year-old son, and I'm a professor at Millikan University.
Awesome. Today we're joined by Isis Rose. She is a doula and offering a number of services to the parents in our community. So she's here to share more about those services that she offers. Isis, do you want to introduce yourself and what you've got going on?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Isis Rose, and I'm a doula with Isis A. Rose Birth and Postpartum Services. So thank you for having me today, Rachel and Emily.
Absolutely.
So I'm a doula, and I'm also someone who offers placenta encapsulation services. I also am a CLC as of February this year, which means I offer lactation support to families. And I also offer childbirth education, and that, man, this is harder than it looks.
Yeah. It's hard to remember the things that you do. Even like sometimes we're trying to remember the age of my kids.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention I'm a mom. I'm a mom of 1. I'm also an expecting mother, and I'm just very excited to be a part of this community. I think that Champaign-Urbana continues to be one of those places that grows the resources that are available to families. And
that's what Emily and I are finding out right now. We're like, oh my gosh, this is the thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So in addition to the standard doula services that I offer, as well as lactation and placenta services, I also like to work with families around cloth diaper education, baby wearing education, car seat safety education. And really, I just tailor my services and skill set for whatever the family needs. I try to customize the experience for the families that I work with. I also am a little bit unique in that I offer support around home birth. My daughter was born at home in 2018, so I have since become a little bit obsessed with it, and I offer home birth consultations as a part of my services as well. And I also have a podcast that talks about home birth.
Awesome. Yeah, home birth is one of those things in this community that is just almost, I mean, I feel like we're getting more resources, like you were saying, like things are growing and we've got more home birth providers in our area, but I feel like it is one of those things that maybe not many people even know are options.
Right. So home birth is definitely, it's kind of an open secret in Champaign-Urbana. And there are tons of home birth families, but you probably wouldn't even know who they are. They're not as vocal as maybe someone like myself, but nonetheless, I'm here to help folks get connected with those providers and just have a really great experience. And I know that it's also become more, I don't know about more popular, but it's piqued more interest in light of COVID-19. And so I'm just here to answer questions and help people navigate what can be kind of a mysterious sort of thing.
And it does feel overwhelming, especially if, I think in any case, like if you haven't had a baby at all and you're thinking about having a home birth for your first, versus if you've already had babies and have done it in a more like your typical hospital setting, then it might feel like this is a huge step to having that home birth experience. And so it is nice to have somebody that can kind of like walk you through, some of those options and different things, so it doesn't feel as overwhelming.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, and you've done it, so the ins and outs from lots of different perspectives.
Something else that I forgot to mention, because when you wear so many hats, you kind of forget all the stuff you do. In addition to being like a standard doula, I've also become a virtual doula because we're living in a global pandemic, unfortunately. And so back in March, April, I decided to become a virtual doula. So I do offer virtual support to families, and I've had families. I was working with a family in Georgia recently, so Whether you're in town or you're not in town, I'm, willing and able to work with you via Zoom or whatever communication style works best for you. I can work with you from afar, and I'm excited to be able to be flexible for families in that way.
Yeah, that is awesome. Yeah, to give that support, from around the world, it's it is helpful. So do you do virtual stuff for people at home, or do you go to those actual births, like in person?
For home births?
Mm-hmm.
That's a great question. So obviously with home birth, it's very different. And unfortunately, hospitals are still limiting the support person number to one. And so a lot of families have to decide, do they want their doula? Do they want their mother? Do they want their partner? And most times they're going to choose their partner. And so in those cases, I do offer virtual support. However, for the prenatal sessions, I leave it up to the families if they want to do like a social distance session. I'm totally comfortable with that. Obviously, I'll be wearing masks and doing all the universal precautions necessary for a safe experience. As far as home birth is concerned, you can have as many people in your home as you want, technically. If you have a home birth midwife, for example, that particular midwife might have some limitations around how many people she feels comfortable being in the home when you give birth. However, usually your support team would include a doula and your partner. And if your midwife is comfortable, maybe a couple of family members. But your doula is most definitely allowed in your home setting when you are giving birth.
That's awesome. It's nice to have, that if you are able to have a home birth, be able to have somebody, your additional support person to be there with you. Mm-hmm. We've had a couple of clients choose a home birth or birth at the Bloomington Birth Center because they are also allowing, more than just one visitor.
So, right. Also, Advocate Broman Hospital in Normal, they also offer a two-person support team as well. And I attended a birth with a client back in June with her husband and myself, and that was at Advocate Broman in Normal.
Awesome. Bloomington, Normal. So it is nice to have those different options of places that that you can go, so that you can have the support people that that you want there, and you don't have to choose between I guess if you can only have two people, maybe your mom is out or something, but yeah, you can have more than just your partner, which takes a little bit of pressure off of your partner to support you through labor.
I came into birth work in a kind of non-traditional way, I think. I moved to Champaign-Urbana in 2014 as a graduate student, and that research kind of meandered and took me to, it revealed to me the world of doula work, and I quickly became fascinated. Long story short, back in 2018, after my daughter was born, I had my first doula client, but in 2016, I had my first 2 trainings. So I've now done several different types of doula trainings that extend back to 2016. And I trained with, I trained with Wapio Bartlett of the Matrona Midwifery School. And I also trained with Nicole Deggins of System Midwife Productions. I trained with DONA, Doulas of North America, which is the largest doula training organization, back in 2019, last year. And that's because I was working as a community-based doula with Children's Home and Aid. So when I finished my program in 2019, I started working as a community doula, primarily serving young women and teens. So anywhere from 13 to 22, 25, I was working with women in that age group and loved that experience. And I was primarily working in Danville. And as of December of last year, 2019, I left my position with Children's Home and Aid and became an independent doula. And that's what I do now full time with my business, Isis A. Rose Birth and Postpartum Services. And I've just truly enjoyed working with families for the last technically 2 years, but more like 4.
Just kind of off and on. Yeah, it's hard to
Right,
kind of like
off and
piece
on in
together.
between
Yeah, when
school.
you've taken those little breaks and.
Yeah, so I'm definitely still wet behind the ears, but I've had a lot of birth experiences of different kinds across different birth settings, primarily home and hospital. And yeah, I'm just excited to work with this community and continue to grow what's already, in my opinion, a pretty vibrant birth community. Champaign-Urbana has a lot of resources for families and for birthing people. And so I just, like I mentioned before, I strive to be a resource. So
Yeah,
that's
and to help kind of figure out what all these other resources are that are around. And we have a lot that I'm even just learning about still, even though I've been here for years, and there are new things coming up, and old things I didn't realize were such a great support system.
Definitely.
Yeah. So what other, you said that you offer placenta encapsulation.
Yes.
And postpartum services. Are you currently doing those things during COVID also?
I am, yes. So okay, your question, is it specifically about like how those things might look different during COVID?
Yeah, or like, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So if how are you handling them now? Yeah.
So with placenta encapsulation, that's a great question. Although we're handling a bodily organ, the bloodborne pathogen training that I completed, as well as the other placenta training, encapsulation training that I completed, that part hasn't really changed. So I was already doing universal precautions and wearing personal protective equipment and, pasteurizing the placenta before encapsulating before, but now those things are just like especially important that we do that. But, early on, there was a lot of talk about, is it still safe? And the answer is yes. So as long as it's not a mother or a birthing person who's infected with COVID, it's still completely safe to encapsulate placentas. And I've been doing that. I think I did one like 2 weeks ago, last week. I don't know. These weeks are kind of blurring together.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if Carl or either hospital were not open to releasing them.
Right. So the hospitals here are definitely still allowing people to sign the liability waiver and release form, and people can take their placentas home and have them encapsulated if they choose to.
Great. Good. Yeah, and postpartum services, you're still
yes
doing those in person, but just masked and.
Yes, exactly. So any in-person services that I offer, I'm definitely wearing my personal protective equipment and social distancing to the greatest extent possible. And for families that prefer virtual services for safety reasons or other reasons, I offer that as well.
Awesome. Great. Well, it's been great just to kind of chat with you and get to understand all the different services that you offer and how you're, working to support families in our community. Emily, do you have any questions for Isis?
I do. I have to ask, what is placenta encapsulation? I saw the first time I saw it was years ago. I used to watch the Kardashians, and I think Courtney was going to eat her placenta or something like this, and I had never heard of anything like this. What is the benefit?
Great question, Emily. That's wonderful.
Yes. Okay. So, great question. So, cross-culturally, there are different methods of consuming your placenta. In this particular dominant culture of the United States, a lot of people don't really find the appeal of like straight up eating their placenta. So instead, they find a practitioner like myself to steam it, dehydrate it, grind it up into a fine powder, and then put that powder into gelatin or vegetarian capsules. And then you just take it like a vitamin. And, there's no conclusive evidence, if you will, that there are any benefits. So I can't say that it's science-based, but, that applies to so many things with birth. So I take that with a grain of salt. Anyway, but the reported benefits have included improved energy postpartum, improved moods, some people say that it really helps with their breast milk supply. And so the kind of philosophy or thought behind it is that when you're pregnant, your hormones surge, and there's just like an incredible amount of hormones making your body support a pregnancy. And then once that pregnancy has ended, your body is just drained of those hormones. And that extreme drop in hormones can create conditions for the onset of like postpartum depression and other perinatal mood disorders. And so a lot of people also consume their placenta to mitigate that effect of the hormonal level drop so that they're not feeling, unstable or unwell postpartum.
Okay. How much does it cost to encapsulate a placenta?
Well, that just depends on the person who's encapsulating. I also offer, for example, placenta art prints, and I can make it into a tincture for you if taking pills is weird. I also do placenta chocolates because everybody doesn't like taking pills. And so depending on what services you are interested in, obviously the cost goes up with the more things that you want. But if you want just the basic like placenta pills, I charge $175.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that was a great question, Emily. Sometimes I forget, like I spend too much time in my little birth world.
Same.
And, it's just like, this is, everybody knows what this is. And I forget that not everybody lives in the birth world I do. So I appreciate that question, Emily, just to kind of remind all of us and give us the opportunity to explain. So that was great. Yeah, awesome. Isis, unless there's anything else that you want to share about what you're doing right now, I appreciate your time and your expertise in all these different ways that you're helping and supporting families.
Is there anything else I want to share? I would like to share that I think there's some misconceptions about doulas and what they charge and what they cost. But if you're interested in a doula, I would highly encourage you to schedule a consultation. If you are someone who has financial need, there's a variety of ways that doulas can be paid or would like to be paid. And so I'm the type of person that likes to work with families who have need. And so I offer, sliding scale, barter, payment plan opportunities. And so I don't want anyone to think that they can't have a doula because they can't afford it. I know that there are competing schools of thoughts about that as well, but just know it can't hurt to schedule a consultation if you're interested in having a doula. And
yeah, absolutely. I mean, everybody's different, right? So everybody's needs are going to be different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, doesn't hurt to send the email and ask the question, right? Gives everybody the opportunity just to kind of figure out what works for them and to find that person that can really be a great support service.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you, Isis.
Thank you.